Welcome to the Security Operative Podcast. This is Tony O'Brien of Security Operative Consultancy Services, here to share with you my perspectives from the world of security and risk management. Enjoy the episode. All right, welcome to this episode of the podcast. And this week I'm really lucky. I have a very good friend of mine and my very favourite polymath, one of the most eclectic security professionals I know, Mr. Justin Casey, joining me. Very first guest on the pod show. So welcome, Justin.
Oh, good. How are things?
Good. Thanks for coming on. We had a few technical difficulties.
No, good to be here.
Very first guest.
I'm still having some technical difficulties with the sound here now, but we should get you.
All right, yeah. It's just my accent. People have that all the time. I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I don't know whether being the first guest is a blessing or some kind of jinx, but
of course, yeah.
I wanted somebody to come on at the start, right? There was, like I said, you're probably the most eclectic guy I know, and I tell everyone, I know you're a few years in the industry now, but you're someone who I think definitely has a huge future and present in the industry, and I think people's going to get a lot from this, particularly knowing what your interests are and stuff like that. Such a wide range of interests, you know. You're moving into photography now, and I can't believe you showed up on my podcast with a better background than me, which is
yeah,
yeah, with your fancy microphone.
First time on Zoom, but yeah, it looks all right, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks all right. Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
I'm stealing that.
Yeah.
So, do you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself, how you got started in the industry, and what you've done up to now?
Well, how I got started originally was just by pure accident, really. It was a friend of mine. Now we're talking a good couple of years ago, and this was a friend of mine. He was working doing a couple of doors, and someone dropped out last minute, and I was over with him, and he said, "Look, what are you doing tonight? Do you want to make a few quid?" I was like, I was under 18 at the time, right, and that was it. I said, yeah, no problem. He gave me a shirt, a tie, and he said, let's go. And there was no training or anything, official training, nothing like that for me. It was just thrown out there, and I was told, look, you're not a punching bag, and that was it. Best of luck. So it was daunting experience, but I'm glad, because it was a day that ultimately like just formed the path that I ended up going down. So yeah. Look, all good.
Sounds very much like me. So you started off on doors, and where'd you go from there then? Pubs,
nightclubs, events, everything. I love the events though. The events are obviously a really fun one for everyone involved, depending on where you are and who you're with. Yeah.
I say that to people all the time, as you know, on training courses. People think they come in and say, "Oh, I'm going to work at this event. I'm going to work at this concert. I'm going to be standing right in front of the stage." And you go, "No, you're going to be 5 kilometers away, minding a car park. You won't even hear the music when you're standing at the stairs."
Yeah, I've definitely been there a number of times. One of my favourite was Ed Sheeran. I love Ed Sheeran personally, and we ended up doing the Ed Sheeran gig in Croke Park, and I thought, lovely, it's going to be a great gig. I couldn't buy tickets anyway, so now I'm working at it deadly. And sure enough, I spent 12 hours miles away at the other side of the park minding some cones for 12 hours straight. Yeah.
I bet those cones
are... yeah. Oh, the most secure cones in Ireland, without a doubt. Yeah.
And you're from working class Dublin, same as I am. Like, what makes a young fella from working class Dublin interested in the security industry?
Well, I don't want to speak for everyone, but for me, it's I think from a working class background and stuff, just growing up a real community aspect, so you get to know a lot of people, and how you interact with people is a bit more open, a bit more common. Like, you be into a pub and you get all the lads, the boyos coming in, and instead of being, oh, hi, how are you, everything, it's like, what's the crack, lads, how are you, enjoy your night, look, I don't want any trouble out of you tonight. You can have the crack with them, as you say. You can have a laugh with them and instantaneously just break down them barriers and build, let's say, a starting rapport with them, which could in turn help you out towards the end of the night.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that, isn't it? You know, being a people person.
Yeah.
So you probably, like most of us, I suppose, you started off in physical security, doors and stuff like that, and then you went into stuff like close protection, if I'm right, aren't you? You've done some stuff with ESA and things like that.
Yep.
And what was that step up like for you? Stepping up from doors and retail, then moving into the close protection area.
It was different because for a lot of people, I was the same as anyone else when they think close protection. They think James Bond, they think Hollywood, they think going jumping out of cars with AKs and that kind of thing. It's not. It's not. And anyone out there that thinks that's all it is, it's totally not. As you know yourself, if let's say we obviously can't use firearms here in Ireland on any protection detail, but let's say we were somewhere and what it did come to the point of an operation where a firearm had to be withdrawn, you've already lost. You've already done something wrong along the way. So it's not all about that. But I had in my head, this was it. I'm going to be the next James Bond, the ginger James Bond. Here we are, right? But yeah, it was a humbling experience, let's say, because you go through all the training and you think this is great, and you get out there and you get some clients that just aren't really nice, that you just have to bite the tongue with, and you get some other clients that are great, where you have to try kind of be careful of how close you get to the client, how comfortable you are with the client, because as well that can distract you or take away from what you're there to do.
Yeah. I'm definitely using that as the tagline for this video.
Yeah.
Episode 20,
Ginger
whatever
James
it is.
Bond.
The
Yeah.
Ginger James Bond. Yeah.
Yeah. Episode 008. Yeah.
You're gonna have to restructure all the episode stuff. And then, so you moved up the physical world. You did a bit of close protection stuff, and then you made the big change, I suppose, that many of us, I suppose, aspire to. But you've been successful in doing it. You moved, or you didn't move, I suppose. You've done both of them in synergy with each other, I suppose. You've moved into the information security, into the cyber security, and particularly into OSINT, into that world, I suppose. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about that and what exactly it is? Because there'll be a lot of people listening to this who'll be, general security practitioners and will have never heard of OSINT. So, what exactly is it?
Well, first off, we'll start off by saying successful is down to personal perception, right? You still have a long, long way to go. Okay. One thing I do want to put out there is, because a lot of people say, oh, well, you're cybersecurity or this, that. I didn't go to college. There's people out there that are way, way more experienced, more qualified than I am. But my transition from the physical to the cyber aspect was gradually over time. I was lucky enough to get some great mentors, like Jeremy from the Information Warfare Center, with Jason Tate then, Black Alchemy Solutions, and obviously yourself and stuff. But these guys were primarily my cyber mentors, let's say. So I was lucky enough to get a 1-year remote internship with the Information Warfare Center in America. And that was really well. It threw me down this rabbit hole that just hasn't stopped. It hasn't stopped. And as you go further down the rabbit hole of cybersecurity, information security, there's just so many, let's say, branch elements that go from that. So I think it's important for anyone to try identify early on. You can't do them all. You can't specialize in them all. So for me, it was OSINT, which is open source intelligence gathering. OSINT itself, let's say, it originated back from its Cold War tactics. Okay, so back in the days when spies and stuff, all these James Bond characters again, were the likes of gathering intelligence, let's say information, and producing that into actionable intelligence via just the local newspapers, let's say different news sources in country. And still today, a lot of that tactics is used with the likes of North Korea and that kind of thing. Places that are very close, they have to use just what's available to them and what they can get. So OSINT for me was extremely interesting topic. And like I said, it's a rabbit hole that just doesn't stop. Okay. And it's a constant lesson, because every day new tactics are coming to light, let's say, new opportunities, different new social medias, providers coming out, all different methods. So it's a constant humbling learning. It's a constant lesson, and I love it.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I talk about that a good bit in terms of operations and control rooms and stuff like that. There's a huge difference between information and intelligence. And I suppose the key is being able to take, because in the security world, cyber, physical, OSINT, there's so much data and stuff out there now. But I suppose the talented people are the ones that are able to take that data and make it into something that's useful or usable, and know how to make that into something that's actionable. Otherwise, you just have loads of information coming at you.
And that's one of the challenging things with OSINT is an information overload, because there's some cases where there's very little information to go on. There's little what we call pivot point. So pivot point, if you were to find one piece of information, that may then pivot or lead you on to the next line of inquiry, the next piece of information. And gradually it's like pulling a string. and just unraveling the whole jumper, the whole yarn, let's say. So yeah, but information overload is just as hazardous, where you have too much information, you can't make sense of it all. So it's important to let's say analyze that correctly, because we have as well cognitive biases and stuff that will just think, oh well, this is the information I want, so let's just go with this is what works for me, but it mightn't be in line with the bigger picture or in scope with the actual key piece of information we're looking for.
Yeah, huge issue, and even in the physical security world, is that cognitive biases, like, you know, that we all have and that we believe about people, and bringing our own biases into it. I was reading there recently even about machine learning and artificial intelligence, that some of the systems have started to pick up humans' cognitive biases because of its users, you know, because we introduce the mistakes into it by what we choose to interpret as being good information and bad information from the artificial intelligence. We actually influence it.
Yeah, the human element will always be the downside, the weakest link in cyber security. And anything cyber, the human element will always be the weakest link. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have heard, like you said, so humans in with machine learning and AI. I did hear of the case where one of the robots they were making, and they had to pull it because it just started cursing, and that was it. It just started using curse words for everything and slagging people and stuff, like, which was obviously transferred from the human element. So
that's what you get for bringing up a robot on the north side of Dublin, to be honest. That's what
there you go. There you go. That's why I'm south side. That's why I'm south side. Yeah.
So what do you enjoy most about, from your new kind of aspects now, moving into the cyber world rather than the physical world? What is there parts of it you prefer, or is there parts of the physical security element that you still prefer, or what's the most enjoyable thing about that open source or cyber world?
For me, it's every day is different, because every case is different, even though they might have the same sort of element, same sort of objective as a whole, but every case is different. One of my favorite cases, what I like to share with students and other people, was just to show it was, obviously I'm not going to disclose too much, but the client, there was two big companies merged, and they wanted to know, they already done all their business analytics on the company they were merging with. They had the financial breakdown, everything, but they wanted more on a personal aspect of the CEO of this company. So they said, look, Justin, just give us what you can. It's very short notice. We have a couple of days before this merger is finalized. We want to just make sure that there's no skeletons in the closet, nothing that's going to come out after we sign this deal. So I said, yeah, no problem. And I spent about 8 to 10 hours solid on the computer, and I couldn't find anything at all, other than the bio on the company webpage of the CEO. Other than that, nothing. He was just a digital ghost. And it was so frustrating. I had to step back and just wind down and come back at it just from a fresh start all over again and look. And just because what we like to say is OSINT is not just an art form, an act. It's a way of thinking, a way of looking at something. It's a mindset. So just out of curiosity, I seen on the bio it had what college he graduated from, and what degree he got and what year he graduated. So I said, oh, let's have a look at the college. So I went on to the college, had a look through the archives, yearbooks, that kind of thing. And there was nothing for that date, because he was out of college that long. There was no kind of digital archive for that yearbook. But I did find a magazine. The college done a magazine, like a college magazine. And I went to, I must have looked through about 10 different issues of this magazine, this college magazine, and eventually there it was. I seen it. I opened it, I flicked across to one page on it, and I seen it was just him and a girl, and I had his name on it, just sitting. It was just a picture. There was no article or nothing. It was just a picture about like enjoying the sun on the green, where they're just, all it was him and a girl sitting on the grass on a nice day, and that was it. There was nothing else to go on. So I said, just by chance, let's check out this girl. Who's this girl? And we're talking 20 years in the difference between today and that article. So the chances were astronomical. And just by pure chance, it turned out they were the typical American school sweethearts. They ended up getting married. So I found her marriage cert. I found the deeds to her house. I had her address. From the address, then I identified that he was on the marriage cert, and it just, the whole thing unraveled because her social media had everything. Pictures of when they were going out for ice cream, for coffee, everything. I had pictures of the car, everything. And eventually it unraveled everything. Thankfully, there was nothing, no skeletons in the closet, let's say. But just how one small key piece of information that you might think is absolutely totally irrelevant, OSINT as a mindset, as curiosity, just unraveled that. So that's one of my favorite cases, even though it was the most frustrating. Yeah.
Just go back on something you said at the start of that about not being able to find that and him being kind of like a digital ghost. Does that throw up red flags as well when you can't find anything on somebody online?
It depends on their, let's say, their social standpoint, let's say, or their business standpoint. If it is a case that it's a big CEO, well, then it's kind of expected, let's say, for when they have, let's say, good protective teams that understand the digital footprint and understand how to do what we call an OSINT scrub and just scrubbing all that offline. Well, that's fine. That doesn't throw up many red flags. But if it's a case that let's say, how can we say, so someone else, let's say, that's not a big famous celebrity or something, and we're doing some sort of investigation on that person, and you can see that there's nothing there, or they've gone to heavy extent to try hide things. Yes, it would make a question and say, okay, I think we need to look a little deeper into this person, because like you could have one single target, but as you're investigating this target, a person of interest might come up where you say, well, hold on, I think this person might have something. Let's look a bit further into this.
Yeah, because I know, even listen to people like Michael Bazell, who I know you're interested in yourself.
Yeah.
They talk about, for a lot of their clients, they scrub off information. And for me, I'm thinking, I always think of it from a physical point of view. If you're doing like a fraud investigation or anything like that, and you're looking at, let's just say, internal theft in a retail outlet, and you can find that a person has made absolutely zero mistakes across the board, that would often throw up just as big a red flag as a person who's obvious. You know, when you're doing those things, it's often the people who are squeaky clean who throw up the red flags just as much as that, you know. Yeah, so I think there's certainly crossover in the two. So you've got Elysium Risk Management now, so you're working as a consultant in that kind of area. What in general does a work week look for you now, or work day look like for your work week, even if you want to spread it out, because I know it can be quite varied. What sort of cases do you deal with, without going into too much detail, but what projects do you work on, that sort of stuff?
Well, I think for starters, I think like everyone else, the work week now is different to our normal average work week due to everything that's going on. We won't say the big C word, but with everything going on, I think everyone's kind of work week seems a bit different. But at the end of the day, the investigations are usually typically the same. A lot of the stuff that we get are just the likes of business side of things. We have been involved in a number of, let's say, not so nice cases of of child exploitation, this kind of thing. We've also made an attempt at a couple of missing persons cases, but they haven't really turned up too much. I know there is like the likes of Trace Labs, and that they do a great job at this. And if anyone's interested, check them out. But general day to day, it varies. Like I said, every case is different. Every client is different. But a lot of our work at the minute is internationally based. It's coming from I'm working with a friend of mine over in the US, and when he gets work overload or he needs some help with something, he will send it over. So a lot of my stuff, thankfully, is US based. And the reason I say thankfully is because in the US, you have greater access to, let's say, vital records, death certs, marriage certs, house deeds, this kind of thing, arrest records. Whereas like more Central Europe, anything like that, it's a bit more enclosed. You might need to put in freedom of information requests and all this. It's not as, you can't just reach out and grab it, let's say. So thankfully, a lot of the clients are US based, which gives us a little advantage straight away.
Yeah, I found that myself with some of the kind of small little projects that I've done in protective intelligence and stuff. If you go into the developing world in Eastern Europe, a lot of the records haven't been digitized, so you're struggling with paper-based records trying to find them. And then you come to developed Europe and you're dealing with goddamn privacy legislation.
GDPR on everything, yeah.
How dare they make laws to make life difficult for us? But I definitely agree with you. But I suppose in the business that you're in, and thankfully in the business that I was in as well, I suppose COVID might have changed the way we work, but you were kind of well placed with the type of work you were doing to being able to pivot to completely online and not have to go out to visit clients and stuff like that. Similar to my own, I suppose. Some of it by luck and some of it by design, I suppose.
Absolutely, yeah. To be able to have that kind of, let's say, freedom where I don't have to get up and travel off and have business meetings and that kind of thing. I can just I have my own little office here, little setup on my screens and everything, and I can just work from here. And it helps as well because a lot more comfortable, especially with the likes of an open source investigation. A lot of people have their kind of, how would you call it, their habits or their way of doing it. So I like to get comfortable, put some good music on, and have my board of what's going on here on this screen, have my virtual machine on this screen. So where I feel if I had to like go into an office and sit down and do it there, as like a data analyst kind of style, I wouldn't be as comfortable, and therefore the results wouldn't be as effective, let's say.
Yeah, everyone
possibly.
Has their own, like, I have to keep my mug in the same place on the desk all the time.
Yeah.
Or I get itchy.
Yeah.
In the same place. Like in terms of somebody who's came from the physical security world and has developed in the way that you've developed, how important do you think it is for the dinosaurs like me and like probably the vast majority of physical security people out there to have not just an interest in, but to be, I suppose, capable, not level to maybe to the level of proficiency, but certainly having a working knowledge of OSINT and of cybersecurity? How deep do you think people should be looking to go?
Like I said, it is a rabbit hole. I think that a lot of people that do even just want to just, let's say, broaden their understanding of it and get more of an understanding of what it is, not even how to do it, but what it is, how it benefits, and etc. I think they will fall down that rabbit hole. They will trip over something and go head first down that rabbit hole, because it is a very interesting, let's say, area. But in regards to from the physical side of things, like EcoSec, I'm sure you know EcoSec, they're now working on improving a lot of their stuff to suit retail, and how that, like, various let's say elements of things getting stolen, how they're sold online through social media, and this kind of aspect. Like we seen the other day in Grafton Street, all of the Canada Goose, Canada Goose jackets, so half of Dublin wearing them, but the store was broken into. All these thousands and thousands of euro worth of products were taken, and it didn't take long to kind of navigate to where these were. Okay, just based completely on social media. Whereas if let's say we didn't have the active OSINT, that side of things, going from the physical store to try follow down these jackets would almost be impossible. So for something like so almost instantaneously, we had to put in a couple of keywords and start having a look at Snapchat stories of people with their new jackets for sale, this kind of thing. And the generation that we're in now, like with the youth, that kind of thing, like they're very, very, let's say, active on social media and this kind of thing. So social media intelligence, I think, is going to be a growing factor of any protective security and any kind of operation.
Yeah, it's huge. But I think you're right about going on the rabbit hole. I know when I started to get into it in terms of protective intelligence and in terms of being able to analyze upcoming risk and things like that for clients, I ended up, going out, buying myself a Raspberry Pi, Kali, Linux on top of it. It was like, when you were a kid and you got a new Lego set and it was fantastic at the start, you could add loads of bits, and then you just got sick of it when you had leftover bits and stuff and you end up just throwing it to the side. I'm just going to bring in an expert. So I think you're definitely right about physical people. We need to know enough to know what we're good at, but when it starts getting into the technical requirements, to know when to draw a line and bring in an expert, when it comes to that sort of stuff. Like, I don't mind running those platforms, like I said, basic understanding of things like Shodan or Kali or whatever the case might play. I started playing around with CSI. Is it CSI Linux? Is that the name of it?
CSI Linux, yeah, that's Jeremy and Richard and stuff. Yeah, they set it up. They've done a great job.
Call an expert,
Yeah.
But at least knowing the line when you need to call an expert is just as important. So if you're talking then about those physical security people, and getting interested in OSINT and where they start, what do you think are the basics for people to start off with looking in those areas?
Well, the basics, without a shadow of a doubt, would start off by just Googling yourself, just actually getting an understanding of your own digital footprint in order to try understand how, let's say, attackers or people on the other side of the fence, how they could leverage that information in order to, let's say, do either a cyber attack, a physical attack, to identify
Sorry, you just froze up me, sir. Is there a sec, Justin? You still there? Justin?
You there?
Yeah, sorry, you just froze up a sec there. Go on, keep going.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Where was I? Where did I freeze?
Google yourself. Google yourself.
Yeah. So just to first get an understanding of kind of what's out there, what kind of information is out there. We call that your digital footprint. To do that, you have a greater understanding of how people on the other side of the fence, attackers, what information they can leverage in order to try identify any vulnerabilities, not just from a cyber aspect, but from a physical aspect. If it's a case that you have a physical security guard working on your site at night time and he's putting up selfies and pictures of the desk, and what information can you see in that picture? What kind of collective intelligence can we gather based on them kind of elements? It's actually a really effective way for people to identify vulnerabilities if they leverage the information correctly.
So I think that it's a very difficult balance to get, especially in consultancy or at security management level, between promoting yourself, writing articles and having a LinkedIn profile and advertising blogs and things like that, and also keeping it digitally sanitized as well, I suppose. From an OSINT point of view, getting that balance right between marketing and obviously keeping yourself digital hygiene then on top of that, And if they were to go kind of a little step deeper and they wanted to get into, say, somebody in corporate security or even retail security, and they wanted to start looking at open source intelligence to kind of help them in their job, what's the starting points for that, do you think?
There's so many different avenues and different ways, because as well, OSINT itself, what a lot of people don't really understand first getting out is, in my mind, there's two, let's say, aspects, two branches of open source intelligence that are the most prominent. And one is from a cyber aspect in terms of cyber security. So trying to identify vulnerabilities on people's sites, tracking IP addresses, this kind of thing for pen tests and penetration testing. And then you have the more investigative side for looking at investigating people, places, persons, things, all the nouns. So there is two main branches. So first off, I would try identify what kind of road you want to go down. What, like, as you've mentioned in a couple of your other podcasts, is like mapping out your route, your progress of your professional development in advance, so and you can cater towards where you want to be towards your end goal. But there's loads of different aspects. I wrote a good article. Look, the head's swelling out as I say.
It was a good article, Justin, I remember.
Yeah, right. It's called 4 Steps in the World of OSINT. And instead of writing it and trying to teach people, well, this is what you do, this is how you do OSINT, I wanted to instead show them how to, let's say, how to submerge themselves into the OSINT community, because OSINT community as itself open source, okay, it's an open source community. People are more than happy to share information, network and teach each other, because as a community, as we grow together. So I think just submersing yourself in the world of open source intelligence, checking out that article, and I think just from there, that just has the ripple effect, just the knock-on effect, because next thing you know, your Twitter feed is just solely based around new tactics, new tips, new tricks, new avenues, new people, and there you just grow from there, I think. Yeah.
And if we say, if you're talking about, I'm a security manager, I'm a close protection person, I'm a consultant, and I'm sitting here in front of you now, I've picked up new laptop, picked up new computer, whatever the case might be, whether it be a laptop or a PC. Any tips for people about how they would set that up, basically to protect themselves online or to keep themselves digitally cleanish, I suppose? And then basically
Absolutely.
OSINT then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it obviously it varies on your threat landscape. Okay, you're gonna have people out there that are hiding from, let's say, the government. Okay, the people that think, oh no, the government's tracking me. I want to lock down everything. If it is a case that the government's after you, just put your laptop in the microwave. That's it. Like it's just you're not going to do anything there. But
with the voice of experience, Justin.
yeah, I'm telling you. But I'm not too sure how to go with that one. Yeah, there's loads of different ways. It depends on your threat landscape. But the first thing we'll be doing, locking down your social media kind of things, two-factor authentication, that kind of thing. Try to protect yourself. But yeah, right. Hit me with the question again, because I went off on a tangent.
Things like where do you stand on things like computer security, the likes of AVG or Norton or those things, or VPNs? Is it something you recommend or don't recommend? Is it useful, not useful?
Yeah, and absolutely, VPN without a doubt. I think everyone, especially in today's age, should be using a VPN. You see so many people on Dublin bus Wi-Fi, and they'll be sitting there logging into their bank details and logging into all their social medias and their email addresses. They're just throwing out the keys there because it's an open network. If someone was to just tap into it, and when we say tap into that, we don't mean like hacking into the Wi-Fi router on the bus or anything. It's just connecting up to the Wi-Fi and then sniffing what's being on the data packets on that network. We programs like Wireshark will capture, and then you can decrypt some information. Next thing you know, you have the key to their whole life. And we see all the time on social media, people saying, oh, I'm after been hacked. I didn't tag you in this. I didn't share this. And like, it happens all the time. And a lot of the time, it's not just being hacked. It's just because they put too much information out there. Someone just went onto the dark web or went onto surface web places, typed in their email address and got a password that they've been using for the past 6 years and now have control of everything. But it's a growing concern, cybersecurity and that kind of thing, kind of the everyday threats that we're faced with. But without a shadow of a doubt, VPN all the way. I don't care who you are, how often you use the internet. VPN. Yeah.
I think that the last person from a similar background to you that I spoke to, he said to me, if you are on public Wi-Fi without a VPN, you absolutely deserve to have your life stolen.
Yeah, absolutely. Like even today, it's becoming more, let's say, accessible for people if they want to do that, because there's a great app called Fing, Fing, mobile app. You download it. Once you're connected to Wi-Fi, you can almost do a full network audit just based on this little app on the phone. Really easy, touch of a few buttons, and next thing you know, you have open ports on iPhones and laptops and everything in between. And it's dangerous. It's interesting, but it's dangerous. Yeah.
He said to me, he said, being on public Wi-Fi without a VPN is the cyber equivalent of walking down a dark alley at night wearing a Gucci.
Yeah. Steal me, rob me. Yeah, take my data. Yeah. But I think cybersecurity itself. I think for the more day-to-day person, it's just about awareness, just being aware of the threats that are out there, how easy it is. It's not some crazy Russian guy in an underground chamber. It's your neighbor. It's the 17-year-old kid down the road. It's like people have this kind of Hollywood idea of what a hacker is, and this user the hoodie up and I'm in, right? But it's not the case. It's not the case. So just being aware of the threats that are out there.
In terms of things like computer security, some people say, go with your ordinary Windows Defender, AVG, Norton, those type of stuff. Are they actually worthwhile, or have we gone past that now at this stage?
It depends on your threat landscape. For the everyday person, yeah, they're fine. Norton, Vast, anything like that, yeah, they're perfectly fine. But personally, I don't. I have some other kind of things here. Protectly. You see this? So it's what's known as the Protectly Vault, and this is my go-to. Obviously, it's not plugged in right now, so don't hack me. But it's through Protectly, but it's through Michael Bizzell. So he has linked up with Protectly, and so it's all pre-programmed, everything. It's plug and go, plug and play straight out of the box. So you can order that on protectly.com, and when you get it, you plug it in, hook it up, and that's my firewall. That's everything. Has everything all in one. Plug it in, and I'm happy enough. Yeah. But if you wanted to go further, then you could just start using Tor, Tails, these kind of programs, these kind of rerouting, let's say, networks.
And you mentioned surface web and dark web there a while ago. Do you think the dark web thing is something that security professionals should start to get familiar with, or is it going a step beyond what we need to be doing?
Not really, no, because again, like anything like this, people think that it's a million miles away. It's not. Like, they think you need some special kind of computer or special kind of access to access dark web. You really, really don't. You go onto Tor, you download Tor, you click run, make sure you have a VPN on, and that's it. You're there. But the dark web isn't everything people think it is. Yes, there are some, let's say, dark places on the dark web, but the deep web itself, the dark web, it's actually used a lot for the likes of whistleblowing, for journalists, for some really, really positive things. But as well, we do have that element, that side of stolen property being sold on it. We have, let's say, vulnerabilities being sold 0 days and that kind of thing. And there are some, let's say, forms and elements that could be really beneficial for the likes of corporate security, that kind of thing, just to, let's say, set up flags and stuff. So if certain keywords come up, to get identified, and you can just stay on top of it, let's say, stay ahead of the curve, let's say.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned keeping on top of your own, in terms of OPSEC and operations security, keeping on top of your own social media and stuff like that. What exactly would you advise for somebody who's a security professional? They've been on Facebook and Snapchat and Instagram for lots of years, and now they're looking to progress into, say, the corporate security world or the close protection worlds, or even to move into security management. What sort of stuff should they be looking at to lock down their own social media profiles?
To lock down themselves, it's fairly simple. Just go into settings and start putting everything more on, let's say, friends and family. Be cautious of who you're accepting as friends on Facebook. Do a bit of a scrub, go through and delete all these people that you met in a nightclub from 3 years ago for 20 seconds in the smoking area. Like, these people that just aren't necessary. They're just flies on the wall, just inspecting. But at the same time, update all your passwords. Stay on top of it. As well, what I like to do is segregation, let's say. So different social media accounts will have their own individual email address that's not associated to anything else. Okay, so it's isolated, it's separated from everything else. So if one goes down, it's not the domino effect. It kind of keeps the house standing, let's say. But password management is a huge one. Because people use poor passwords, or they're using passwords that they've used for the past 6 years, 10 years, etc. And when one of them gets leaked online, which for the day-to-day person, when I say leaked online, doesn't mean that you were hacked and someone necessarily took your password. It's, let's say, when you want to play some game on Facebook, or you want to find out what your superhero name is on Facebook, and you click accept, all your information then goes to this third party. And if that third party then is involved in a data breach, and that information is shared then openly, either on deep web, surface web, wherever, and your password is out there then, and if it is a case you use the same password cross-platform, across multiple services, or for your email, everything, they all go down, all because one was out there. So brush up on password management definitely is for first, let's say, line of defense.
And what about a password manager? Is that a good idea or a bad idea? Some people say brilliant idea because you can use it. Others will say, well, if that gets hacked, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, I think it's trying to find this sweet spot between convenience and security, because we're at the day and age where it's just like you can't necessarily have both, 100% of both. Okay, you need to find that kind of that common ground that's suitable to you, to your threat landscape, and to your, let's say, paranoia. But there's various different password managers out there. One of my favorites is what's known as KeePass XC, and the reason it's one of my favorites is it's not a cloud-based one. I think KeePass do have a cloud-based one, but Yeah, but personally, I like XE because it's stored internally on my machine. So even if KeyPass, let's say, get hacked, my information is not there. It's not involved in it. It's stored locally on my machine. But I'm not saying that cloud ones are bad, because for some people that may be the best option for them, because they haven't got, let's say they're working in different offices, different areas. They can't bring their whole computer with them every single time. There are some other options, like if you go to portableapps.com, and what you can do is you can put this KeyPass XC onto a USB. So you can, it's almost like multi-factor authentication, like YubiKey, this kind of thing. There's some great ones to look at, definitely. If you're in the corporate side, business side, the likes of YubiKey and that way forward, definitely. But if you're not looking to invest a lot of money, something nice, free, simple, I would look at portable apps and putting KeyPass onto a USB stick or something like that, and obviously then encrypt that. Yep.
So someone wants to get started off, so in OSINT, and some of the stuff you said there about, you know, packet sniffing and Wireshark and stuff like that. Basic starter kit, what would you be talking about equipment wise?
Just a computer and curiosity. And that's it. Like, you don't need to start investing money into huge programs like paid services, like paid Maltego accounts and this kind of thing. Just start simple. You need to walk before you can run. I think understanding OSINT as a mindset, a way of thinking, a way of looking at a situation is more beneficial, and it's going to pay off more in the long run than investing money into, like, say, the big services like EchoSec, Maltego, anything like that. So I think just starting off with a computer and a VPN and just some curiosity is definitely all you need to start with. And then as you grow, as you develop, then you can start looking at things like virtual machines and different tools and softwares, and like we said, Maltego, Spiderfoot, anything like that. A good one to start off, let's say, for the very first link or the very first click to go to is the OSINT framework. So the OSINTframework.com, and what that is I'm sure you've seen it before, but for others, it's a website, and what it has is it lists all your, let's say, data sources, and from there then it will navigate you to third-party services that kind of help to try leverage that data source, whatever it is. Yeah, so that's a really good starting point, let's say. After that, if you want to dive in, Michael Bazel's books. He recently just brought out the new version, the 8th edition only came out, I think.
I literally saw it this morning and ordered it. I was just on the podcast last night and ordered it. I actually still have your edition 6 here.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm on the 7th edition at the minute. I'm looking at ordering the 8th now. I'll probably order that tomorrow. So it's only out. So Michael Bazel's books are absolutely amazing. They're a Bible for me for OSINT. Highly recommend them.
His website as well is a fantastic resource as well, I think.
Yeah.
And his podcast, I only recently got into his podcast. His podcast is excellent as well, I think.
I've been listening to his podcast a long time. Yeah, that's kind of what pushed me down the rabbit hole. But not even just from an OSINT standpoint, from a privacy aspect, he's really, really high grade. He knows the stuff when it comes to, let's say, privacy. A lot of his work is taking people and turning them into digital ghosts where they're gone. Yeah. So yeah.
If you talk about somebody then who's A, either in the physical security world, or B, leaving school or working in a different career, whatever the case might be, what piece of advice would you give somebody who's thinking of starting off in the industry or moving over into that world?
Be patient.
Bits of advice you would have got over the years.
I think just be patient. Just be patient. It's easy to dive into something and then you're 6 months studying or learning about this, and then you think, maybe this isn't for me. Okay, so be patient and try identify early on, if possible. Try identify that end goal of where you want to be and structure your path in line with what's actually going to benefit, what's not going to benefit. Because as you go further, like for me, I started out with the likes of information security, this kind of thing. And then as I started developing it into OSINT, then I started realizing, okay, I need to get some sort of understanding of programming, of Python and this kind of thing. So there's constantly new things coming out that's going to hit you. So be patient. It's not just jump in and go, because there's going to be other elements that you need to build your foundations before you can move on. Yeah, so I think be patient and reach out, network. Mentoring was a huge one for me. Like one of good mentor, like I said, Jason Tate, Black Alchemy Solutions. Jay Tate he worked with all these 3-letter agencies. He's worked on some high, let's say, high level US government source type things, with intelligence agencies. And I ended up he was a very good mentor, and that was just through reaching out to him. I heard him talk on someone's podcast, and I went on, I think it was Facebook at the time. I found him on Facebook or LinkedIn or something like that. And it was just a simple message. Hey man, I heard you on the podcast. It was really cool. And that was it. And that's how it started. Just by reaching out to someone. Don't be afraid. Like, just drop a message. Nothing creepy. Like, just say what's up. Yeah. You need to better your OPSEC. Yeah. But just something small like that, and that ended up then developing being a big thing, because a lot of my OSINT work now comes from off the back of that. Like, so yeah, so something so small, just network and get out there. Don't be afraid to write articles about sharing information you have. Don't be afraid to ask for information. This kind of thing. Just network. Just be open source. Yeah.
And in terms of people who you've worked with over the years, who would you say are the best out there? People who you look up to in the industry, who you think is worth listening to and learning from?
Oh, I'm going to get a few
different
blocks
areas
on
if you
Facebook
want
over this.
Yeah.
Obviously yourself, Tony. Obviously yourself. For those.
Yeah.
No, definitely not. You know that. I was on your website. I was reading articles long before I actually knew you, and thankfully then that branched on that we worked together with ICSE and have built. And this was solely through networking. I think you put up something one day, something to do with something, or you were sharing a link for something on the dark web of the tools that they're using for retail, like to block the magnets and that kind of thing. You said, if anyone wants to check it out, let me know. I'll send you the link, and I just hit you up. Yeah, cool. Send that to me, and we got chatting from there. So small things again, just through networking, and great resources, obviously, that you've put up over the years. Incredible, and your book, obviously, deadly. I recommend that to any listeners out there. Okay, and who else? There's so many. I don't want to tread on anyone's toes. I don't want to leave anyone out. There's just so many people out there that have really helped provide some value from both on a personal aspect, a growth aspect, and let's say business side of things.
Yeah, I think it is huge. So it's amazing how many people I've met in the industry over that, just through that basic conversation that stems from there. And I'd say probably almost like in your business, but in my business, I think probably 80% of my work comes through that now. People that I've met on forums and stuff like that come into it. So I want to be a bit respectful of your time. So I'm going to wrap up a couple of quick questions in it. Best moment in the security industry, what do you reckon?
Best moment in security industry. Whoa.
Highlight your career so far.
For me, it's teaching. Without a shadow of a doubt, where I got to that stage, or that pivoting point, that transition, let's say, of where I could actually share knowledge with others and see other people grow. One of the highlights of my year so far, within the past week or whatever it is, was one of my OSINT students. He actually released this great report, open source intelligence report. So, and I'm
deleting my Strava.
Yeah, definitely.
No more tracking my runs.
Yeah, but that was definitely a highlight for me, because he, believe it or not, he has a PhD. He's a professor at the Polish Warfare Academy. Like, he's well up there, and here's me, young guy from Tala, flown the other side of Europe to teach him, which was incredible. And he was a brilliant student, and to see him so quickly go from a total newbie, just doing a course with me, and then to transition how far he's come now within such a short period of time is incredible. And he's actually reached out. He wants to do a bit more work. We're going to team up together, and we're going to look at some interesting things. So hopefully we have some good intelligence reports to be released over the next couple of months.
I was like that when I started you off training. I remember the first
yeah. That's it. Yeah.
You have a knack for it, though. You're really good with people, which is I think that's the best of a trainer. Yeah, not all subject matter experts make good trainers.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Not all individuals, not all people who are really, really good at a job make good trainers either. I think it's about having enough subject matter knowledge that you're able to explain something really complicated, really simply. And but also being able to make people feel relaxed enough that they can enjoy themselves. And when people enjoy themselves, they learn. I think you're quite good at that in the room. I haven't seen you. You dress terribly, but
yeah. No, that is definitely a huge one as well. Just understanding that, like, fair enough. Let's say as instructors ourselves, from when we were working together, we might be at this stage. We need to understand they're new. They're coming from a fresh, total outlook. You need to respect that and be respectful of that, and don't make them feel like they're stupid. And because even myself, I've had some trainers myself previously, and they kind of put it across as if, hey, you should know this. No, I shouldn't know this. This is why I'm here. I want to learn from you. Like, teach me. Don't belittle me about it. Yeah. So I think just being open to the student and having an understanding of that is and passionate about it. You need to enjoy what you do.
That comes across. Yeah, definitely comes across. Yeah, it's the difference between training for people and training at people. A lot of trainers train at people. You know, they throw knowledge at them rather than training for the value that the learners actually want to get over it. You know. And then if you just flip that around, then low points. Any low points in the industry that you'd like to tell us about? Nothing illegal, but
low points.
It's important as well for people to recognise that, you know, even people who are very successful, me included, go through extremely bad times in the industry.
Absolutely.
Well, the other side of it, you know.
Yeah, we're all only human at the end of the day, okay? I don't care how much experience you have in it or how many years of doing it or anything. We're all only human at the end of the day. Low points for me: 1, 12 hours minding a cone in Phoenix Park. Okay, but there are low points in the sense even from a mental aspect, like where you've put a lot of time and effort into something and it doesn't work out the way you wanted it to be, or you feel like you're not where you should be, or this kind of thing, or just overworking. You need to be cautious. You've put out some great articles about it before. You need to be cautious of your own, like you say, on a plane, who do you put the mask on first? The child or yourself, because you need if you can't help yourself, well, how are you going to help them? So I think just being cautious of that, especially even from the physical side of things. I've seen people do it time and time again, like working 12-hour shifts back to back, and like, you're no good to anyone, never mind. So I think that's be a bit more cautious about.
Last one, I'll let you go. What's next for Justin? What do you got coming up this year?
Just training. So at the minute it looks like
just training.
Next month I'm off to Budapest for a week or two. Just gonna train a group over there. We're delivering an open source intelligence course there. In March we're doing some firearms courses over in Poland. We're also doing some OSINT courses there, and maybe some things in Switzerland coming up. A few. It looks like it's going to be an interesting year, God willing, with everything going on, hopefully. But as well, myself, I'm looking at diving in and constantly learn a bit more. I want to up my programming skills, my Python, this kind of thing, side of thing as well. So always learning. They're always a student before a teacher, and I've posted about before, a student before a teacher, and the day that changes, you don't deserve to teach anymore. So.
And in terms then of, if people want to find out a little bit more about you, about Elysium, stuff like that, where can they find you, or where can they go and look up some of your stuff?
Other side, yeah. So we have YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter there. Okay, but I've some articles up on LinkedIn. Check out some of them articles. I'm trying to be a bit more proactive on the YouTube side of things. But reach out to me, Twitter, like. Feel free to drop me a message. Anything I can help out with, I will. I won't send you an invoice. Like, if you just want some advice or some direction, if there's anything I can do, I'm always open to network. So yeah, reach out to me. I don't buy. I'm from Tala, but I won't harm you, right? So yeah.
His wallet across the internet. So
now you take their bank account instead. Yeah.
Right, well look, Justin, thanks very much. I want to be respectful of your time, and like I said to you,
no problem.
Pleasure having you on. You're the first one that I've had on here. I I wanted to have somebody on that was as eclectic as you, like you do everything, like I said, from the physical world to the world. I absolutely think, I've said it to so many people over the years, that you're one of the people in the industry that I think has a massive future ahead of you. I appreciate you coming on. Thanks for your time, and I'm sure everyone's going to get really, really good value from it. So
I hope so. But thanks a million, Tony. Brilliant.
Thank you for listening to the Security Operative Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show and got some value. If you'd like to follow more of our activity, you can find us on any of our social channels at Security Operative Consultancy Services. See you next time.